Maggots in the grain. The first time I heard the laughter, I thought it was a joke. A sick, cruel joke at my expense. Standing in the kitchen with my mother and brother, I had just shared my discovery. The grain silo, my childhood playground, was filled with something no one could explain, something festering, malignant. My mother's laughter rang out like a knife, slicing through the air. A contaminant? You're being ridiculous, Claire. You're just paranoid. You've lost your mind. And just like that, their laughter became a soundtrack to my unraveling, each derisive note pulling me deeper into my obsession with agricultural hexology, a term they twisted into a mockery. Hexology? What's next? You'll be claiming the corn whispers to you? My brother's voice dripped with condescension. Fired for my delusions, I spiraled into isolation. My only companions, the whispers of the land and the curses buried within it. I spent years mapping cursed territories, tracing the roots of blights that had claimed crops and lives. While my family thrived in the light of normalcy, I lurked in the shadows, digging into the folklore I once dismissed as child's play. But the land spoke to me, revealed its secrets through the sickening stench of rot and decay. Each poisoned field I examined unveiled more than just dead crops. They revealed stories of those who'd come before me, those who'd fallen victim to the wrath of the land. I became a pariah, but I also became something greater, something feared. My name whispered in hushed tones among agricultural circles, not as a disgrace, but as a warning. Years later, I returned home, the weight of my knowledge heavy on my shoulders. I was no longer the child they had scorned. I had uncovered the truth behind the festering silos, the bizarre deaths linked to cursed harvests. I was renowned for exposing the hidden horrors that lurked beneath the surface of our very existence. But despite the accolades, I felt a hollow ache inside, a need for the acceptance I would never receive. The sun hung low in the sky as I approached my childhood home, its familiar outline a stark reminder of the mockery I had endured. My heart raced with a mix of trepidation and resolve. I had come to show them, to demonstrate the horrific truths they had denied. But as I stepped onto the porch, I was struck by an eerie feeling, as if the house itself was a living entity, holding its breath in anticipation. Inside, the air was thick with an unsettling silence. My family turned at my entrance, their faces painted with disbelief. "Claire?" my mother said, her voice trembling. I could see the fear glimmering in her eyes, the momentary flicker of recognition that I was no longer the girl they had ridiculed. "I'm back," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "I need to show you something." I led them to the old grain silo, its rusted door creaking ominously as I pushed it open. The darkness inside swallowed us whole, a putrid scent wrapping around us like a suffocating shroud. I had brought my research, the evidence I had collected over the years, reports of infestations, the bizarre phenomena that plagued our land. I had come to turn their laughter into screams of terror. "Look," I said, pulling out a jar filled with the writhing maggots I had collected from the infected grains. "This is what you mocked. These are the remnants of a curse. The land is angry, and it's only just begun to show its teeth." The maggots writhed, a sickening dance of death, and my family recoiled in horror. "Claire, stop this," my brother said, his bravado crumbling beneath the weight of my revelations. "You're scaring us." But I pressed on, my voice rising with fervor. "You thought I was insane, but I've survived what you can't even face. The blight is spreading. It's not just a few dead crops. It's a reckoning." And then it happened. The ground beneath us trembled, a low growl rumbling from the earth. I could see it in their eyes, the dawning realization that I had uncovered something far more sinister than they had ever imagined. The walls of the silo began to sweat, dark rivulets of liquid seeping through the cracks. And the air grew thick with a tangible malevolence. "Maggots in the brain," I whispered, almost to myself, as the shadows twisted around us. It's not just a saying, it's a warning. In that moment, the truth became undeniable. My family staggered back, their faces pale with fear, as the darkness coalesced into grotesque shapes, forms born from the very soil they had neglected. Cursed spirits, brought forth by their disbelief, writhed in the flickering light. I could see the horror etched on their faces, the understanding that they were witnessing the culmination of years of ignorance. "Claire, please!" My mother's voice broke, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We were wrong! We should have believed you!" But it was too late. The price for their disbelief was unfolding before them, and I could only watch as the shadows reached out, wrapping around them like tendrils of despair. The maggots spilled from the jar, a cascading wave of horror that consumed the very fabric of their reality. As I stood there, I felt a cold wave of vindication wash over me. I had survived what they could not face. The horrors I had uncovered were now their burdens to bear. They had laughed at my obsession, dismissed my warnings, and now they would witness the very consequence of their scorn. The last thing I saw before I turned away was their faces, twisted in terror as the darkness claimed them. I stepped out into the light, the weight of my knowledge heavy yet liberating. As I walked away, I knew I would carry the haunting echoes of their laughter with me forever, a reminder that sometimes the truth is a curse that demands to be acknowledged, even when it's too late to escape its grasp.